Hey, what is up and what is going on, everybody? Before I dive into the recap and talking about the game, prayers for Yankees infielder Oswaldo Cabrera. Looked like a just horrific leg, ankle, I'm not sure, injury there on his slide home on the sac fly in the top of the ninth inning. Just awful to see, just awful. You never ever want to see something like that in any sport. So just gutted for him and his teammates. You could see how much that got to them, and rightfully so when something like that happens. So my prayers go out to him, his family, Yankees fans, the Yankees for that. That is definitely not what you want to see when you turn on a baseball game. In a situation like that. So hopefully, get some good news and he can make as speedy as possible of a recovery. So I just want to get that out there before diving into this. With that said, the Mariners do drop this one 11-5 to the Yankees tonight. They fall to 22-18 on the season. They will remain in first place in the American League West. I could probably end the video with one statement. You need George Kirby and Logan Gilbert back. It's not, the season will not end well if those two are not in the rotation. Won't matter what the offense does, won't matter what the bullpen does, even though the bullpen has been shaky at times too. It won't work because this rotation, I said it yesterday, it's not very good right now. Oh, also, if you can do me a favor, hit that like button, comment your thoughts on the team and the game down below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you are new here. So I got out of whack there a little bit with the intro. So, okay, backing it up. Yes, the rotation right now just is not very good. Truth of the matter is, I actually don't think Emerson Hancock was that awful tonight. He wasn't good, but he looked all right through 4 innings. Had the most swing and misses he's ever had in a start. The changeup looked pretty good. He hit 97 at one point. He had some walks, but I thought it was a little bit more of a strategic walk to avoid some of the Yankees hitters there to, not let them kill you there in those situations. So, and then truthfully, he had Trent Grisham struck out. It was a borderline pitch. You're not going to get those calls all the time. Then Grisham hits the home run. Judge hits the line drive that, that's an inch higher. Randy makes the catch. Wonder how that inning would have played out if that Grisham call, goes the Mariners' way. And the fact of the matter is Emerson Hancock isn't good enough where he can get calls not going his way and make up for it. It's not an excuse. Like I said, it was a borderline pitch. Sometimes that's called a ball, sometimes it's called strike. Just is what it is. I am in favor of a challenge system being in here because I think it'd be nice if we got those calls right. But Hancock is not good enough to have a strike three called ball four and have a ball that Judge smoked, but is just missed on the shoe tips, for Randy on a catch by the laces of the glove and get away with it, right? He's just not good enough to survive something like that. Logan Gilbert is, George Kirby is. Those are two of probably the top 10 starting pitchers in the American League, and they aren't on the roster right now. They're hurt. Now, the good news is, like I've said for the last 10 videos, they're working their way back. So you feel good and confident that they're going to get in there. And this is another game. The Mariners put up 5 runs today. The offense hasn't been quite as locked in the last few games, but I think if you have those guys healthy over the last 4, you maybe win 1 or 2 of them. Doesn't sound like much, but it makes 22-18, right? Maybe 23-17. Better, right? It is. It's one game better. Again, doesn't sound like a lot, but even if you find a way to win one of those, because that's what I always talk about, right? You don't want to let the losses pile up and spiral. And that's what's happening a little bit here. This is the 4th in a row that the Mariners have lost. This is also why the Blue Jays series was frustrating, right? Because this was going to be a tough series with the Yankees, and you have the Padres next. Those are not going to be easy. I said yesterday, you could play decent baseball and go 2-4. And I don't think the Mariners necessarily played decent baseball tonight, but tomorrow, right? You got Bryan Woo going. I feel good about that, but he's going up against Max Fried. Lose that game 1-0 easily, So it's why getting swept by Toronto is super frustrating. But again, I keep seeing people talking about the pitching numbers, which have been brutal. Starting pitching has been bad. And it's because this rotation right now is just not that great. Emerson Hancock has done an okay job. He's just not equipped to be able to get out of games like this where, with the situations I explained. Logan Evans is doing a nice job, but he's, probably a 6-7 starter right now. Castillo, I still think is fine, but he's not, the ace he was a few years ago. He's more of a middle to back end guy. Bryan Woo's been fantastic. And Bryce Miller, quite frankly, has been dreadful. When you put all that together, that's a very shaky rotation. And especially against an offense as good as the New York Yankees, it's going to be very, very difficult. The good news is that you're in first and those guys are working their way back. So I'm not going to get too worked up right now about it. It is frustrating. I don't want the team to lose 4 in a row. And, it's certainly, like I said yesterday, you're seeing some of the warts this team has. The Mariners don't find a middle ground very well, do they? They're either and it's been this way for a while. It feels like this team is either red hot or they are ice cold. And that has always been kind of one of my frustrations is when they seem to get cold, they just, these last 4. If you could have held on to Saturday's game, you'd be frustrated because you lost the series against Toronto, but you'd be looking at it like, okay, you didn't get swept by Toronto. You got one. You knew the series win streak wouldn't last forever. The Yankees got you tonight. Still have a chance to bounce back and win this series, but now it's starting to pile up and it just creates some frustration here. So, certainly the team, like we said, wasn't as good as, they were probably showing at the 22-14 mark, but they're certainly not this bad either. And you just hope that those guys get back in there and can help make it happen. I definitely think they can. They're 2 of the best pitchers in the American League. I don't think anybody else in the division. I know the Astros are without Yordan Alvarez right now, but I don't think any team in the division is sitting on a couple guys on the IL that have been out for some significant time, I should say, like George Kirby and Logan Gilbert. I mean that's a lot of firepower that's not in this Mariners rotation right now. So yes, the rotation is bad right now. Yes, they're pitching poorly, but my hope is you get 2 of the best guys in baseball back, and that should even out a little bit. And I think that's also, when you look how this team was built, the offense got off to such a hot start. And listen, they scored 5 runs tonight, right? I mean, again, how many times last year would we have killed for a 5-run outing? Even Saturday with 3, I think if you got Logan Gilbert on the bump, that's probably enough to win it. Yesterday was a dumpster fire game. You got destroyed. And then Friday, you hit some balls hard and just kind of ran into some tough luck. And again, starting pitcher wasn't sharp. That's really what it comes down to for this team. And yes, the offense is and has cooled down a little bit, but I think the hope is when this rotation is fully healthy, that even with a cool down offense, you have a pitching staff that's good enough to get through those and win some baseball games. And right now they don't. The offense scoring 13, 14 runs, I think masked a lot of issues for this team there that, not that they weren't noticeable, but I never want to make recaps when the Mariners are winning and be like, oh man, this is just, this isn't going to last because this, and this. That's not how I want to be. You want to enjoy it when your team's winning. But now that they're got a little losing streak going, we're seeing some of it rear its head. I'll get into the box score real quick here. Like I said, Emerson Hancock, 5 innings, 8 hits, 7 runs, 7 earned, 4 walks, 5 Ks. That's not good. I want to be very clear on that. But I didn't think it was it was bad. I don't know how to. I didn't think he looked terrible through the first 4, and just some things didn't go his way. And then the Yankees started crushing him, right? I want to be clear on this. It's not like bloops falling in a little bit like the Toronto series. The Yankees crushed him, right? Grisham hits 2 home runs. Maybe a little unlucky. Looked like Julio could have come up with that first one. You never want to call a pitcher unlucky for giving up a hit to dead center field at T-Mobile Park. But, alternate universe or different time, different place, Julio might bring that one back. And that could have helped you for sure. But, like I said, it's not that Hancock was good, but when just little things aren't going his way, he's not good enough to keep that going and wiggle out of it. And then the Yankees just started piling it on. Grisham hits 2 home runs. Wells blast a home run. Even though I talked about Judges almost being caught, that thing was still stung. I think Goldschmidt had a solid base hit. Bellinger did. So then they just started teeing off on him. And yeah, I mean, not a great outing. It looked like, early on, and maybe that's where I'm trying to go with. There were some positives, right? It's the most swing and misses Hancock got in the start. I thought the first inning, he looked really solid. I think 5 is close to his career high in strikeouts. So I still think some positive signs for Emerson Hancock. But this lineup's just too good, and they got to him. Legomita throws a shutout inning. Bizzardo goes 2 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 1 walk, does strike out 3. Troy Taylor dreadful in that ninth inning, one inning, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned. Um, I almost wonder with how poor this rotation is, you almost got to get a reliever up here that can go multiple innings, whether that's Lau or Casey Lawrence or I don't know who else, maybe a starter in Tacoma, Blas Castano, somebody. But, uh, Troy Taylor's just been bad. I not missing a lot of bats, giving up hard contact, really disappointing. And I kind of joked when Thornton went on the IL, and obviously, thoughts and prayers for Thornton going through the appendectomy as surgery. So hope he's doing okay. That, hey, maybe get a little boost here, but I think Thornton's better than Troy Taylor the way he's pitching right now. So wouldn't be shocked if there is a roster move there. Taylor just maybe, been a little banged up, maybe just got to work on some things, but definitely disappointing. And, it doesn't so much matter in a game like this, even though it was 8-5. I mean, you never know, a little bloop and a blast, it's 8-7. So, who knows? But, where was I going? Taylor's just looked poor, and it hasn't, what I think I was going with that, it hasn't killed the team necessarily because he's not pitching in a lot of high leverage spots. But it's a bullpen that it's not great, right? It's got some guys, but it's been a little shaky at times. And if Troy Taylor could have kind of repeated what he did last year, and there's still time, maybe he does, it would have been a big answer to, some questions for this bullpen. So, he's got to be better. Offense does collect 6 hits, 3 walks, and 5 runs. A lot of home runs tonight. When you don't get a ton of hits, but you hit home runs, going to allow you to score some runs. JP was 0 for 4. JP cooling off a little bit. Polanco does go 1 for 3 with the solo home run. Mitch Garver pinched hit and walked. Julio 1 for 4 with a solo home run, his 7th. Cal 1 for 4 with a 2-run home run, his 13th. Randy had a nice game, 2 for 3, a single double, and a walk on base 3 times. Rowdy walked. Tavares is 0 for 3. I didn't love that bunt in the second inning, I'll be honest. Not that I'm against bunting in those situations with first and second, nobody out, but Schmidt had struggled, had walked Randy and Rowdy. So, you kind of give a pitcher that's struggling an out. And then after Tavares is Dylan Moore, who doesn't hit righties historically all that well and has strikeouts in his game. He is a guy that strikes out. And then Ben Williamson, who's scuffling a little bit. So I don't mind bunting there if Tavares is batting ninth and JP, Polanco, Cal, Julio's coming up. Then okay. Or Dylan Moore against a lefty, then I'm okay with it. But didn't love it there. Don't think it ended up hurting them really. I mean, it did. They didn't get a run in there. And Dylan Moore's got to do a better job too. Let me be clear, it's both, right? I don't love the bunt, but Dylan's got to have a better at bat after that bunt as well, which he didn't do. So, it's both, right? I don't love the decision, but the players have to play better too. You can say a play call is terrible in football, and he might be right, but players also have to execute. Speaking of football, Mike McDonald threw out the first pitch today. Might be looking for some open tryouts for pitching, so curious to check the velo on Mike's first pitch there. Dylan Moore was 1 for 3 with kind of a blue RBI single. Master Boney 0 for 1 pinched hit. Ben Williamson 0 for 3, cooling off a little bit. I'm not worried about it right now. Listen, right now the issue is the starting pitching. Mariners scored 5 runs, but it'd be nice to see Williamson get going a little bit and kind of have like a 3 for 4 day or something like that, mix an extra base hit or something. So, I think again, kind of going unnoticed because it's not the main issue, but a little bit of a scuffle here for Williamson. And then Rivas pinched hit and was 0 for 1. What did he? Oh, he pinched hit that ninth inning. Not going to lie, after the injury, I was kind of like, if they just want to call this game, that's fine with me at that point. So, yeah, he pinched hit in the ninth. Need George and Logan back. I know it's simple, but that's going to be the main cure for what's ailing the Mariners right now. Because the main thing ailing this team is starting pitching. Didn't think we'd be saying that, but it is. The offense wasn't great in the Toronto series. And even tonight, like, they didn't stack a ton of base runners. But, if you hit 4 or 3 home runs, that's a good, quick way to get some runs on the board, right? So they put up 5. That's completely reasonable. Starting pitching's got to be better, and it's only going to get better. There's no answers right now. There aren't. Yes, Castillo could pitch better than he did on Friday. Yes, Bryce Miller needs to pitch better. Those are the 2 best options you have. Emerson Hancock is Emerson Hancock. He has looked better this year, but he's still just kind of a back-end guy. Logan Evans is doing the best he can right now. Simple. Get George and Logan back. And you know what? If they can get to the point where both those guys are back and they're still in first place at the time, I'll feel pretty good. I will. I'm not super worried because you do have the guys. Now, I want to see them back on the mound, right? We still have, well, George we have. It's in rehab starts. Haven't seen Logan yet. He did throw from a mound, looked like 75%, they said, or something, or something similar to that. So, but I mean, like, on the Mariners mound, pitching for the Mariners. If this team didn't have those guys coming back, I'd be hitting a panic button. Let's see what happens when those guys get back. Remember when they were 22-14, and I said, even if they go 500 over the next 50 games, that's, like a good thing. That will put them in good position. Kind of seeing why I said that, right? Like, because this is what you don't want to do here, is just spiral out of control. I will still maintain, though, if they go 20-20 over the next 40 games, they're probably in pretty decent position. So let's see how it plays out. Let's get those guys back. Those guys come back and the team's still scuffling, then we have some major issues to talk about. But for right now, I think they're just missing some key players. Have a great night, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. Again, prayers, thoughts, whatever you feel you need to do for Oswaldo Cabrera for a speedy recovery. I'll be back tomorrow night. Take care, everybody. And as always, go Mariners.